Hi folks, today we are going to be playing Threatgen Red Vs Blue. Today we're going to pick the blue team. You know I love to do that. And thought we'd set up the live stream here. Big shout out to Clint and Jerry and the team at Threatgen Red Vs Blue. This is a non-professional endorsement, this is just practice. Enjoying the game and live streaming through my channel. So hope you all enjoy today. I'm going to have a quirky little couple of things on assistance from my digital assistant. Enjoy that one as well. So without further ado, here we go. Let's go to the gameplay. So today we're going to pick the large oil and gas pipeline company. I love that game. Here we go, full screen. So we're ready to go. Let's see how we go. So I'm not playing great today, so I might last longer than my usual number of rounds that he usually cleans me up in. So here we go. Start the game. So just before we get started, I thought I might ask my digital assistant Serena because this looks very much like critical infrastructure to me. So,
in Australia, the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, SACI, defines 4 hazards that must be addressed. Cyber information security hazards. Also, physical security hazards, personnel, and natural hazards.
That's great, thanks Serena. So if I'm hearing you correctly, physical security, personnel security, and cyber information. We've got no floods or bushfires today, so we don't have to worry about natural hazards there. So let's have a look. What I usually do is policies and procedures, gateway firewall, and that's going to take me 2 turns. So when you're selecting here, you've always got a number of resources and how many turns. So what we're also going to do, we might just get the locks in the door. And we'll end our first turn. So, as per Serena's suggestion, getting the physical security under control early on, and our electronic physical security, the front door is of course our gateway firewall, which we now have. So now, like anything, when you're carefully deploying things, you can see that it'll take a little while sometimes to deploy some of the actions. So policies and procedures will take a little time to be developed. So that will take a couple more turns for that resource to finish the work. So I've got nothing to do at the moment. Continue on, and our firewall's in. But these resources will continue on for another 2 turns before they complete their work. Alright, so we now have policies and procedures. So now that we have them, we've got some other things we could be doing here. So we could go create a backup process and backup all machines. We could do that. What we're going to do, because phishing training is very pertinent to cyber awareness, we're going to look at our security awareness training so that we can limit the amount of potential phishing attacks that we might encounter. It takes the red team a couple of turns to set up a phishing campaign, so we'll get that in nice and early so that we can help protect ourselves there. Now we've got one more turn here. What we should do, we've got one resource left. We might encrypt our network traffic so that if any machines do get compromised, we can limit some of the damage that may occur from harvesting credentials. Good. So that's our turn here. One of the things we do need to consider here, and I might just surrender for some more commentary here. What are our choices here between
a segment network to reduce attack surface, or invest in cyber awareness training to prevent phishing attack?
So it's a really interesting balance there. So what we chose to do was to do our security awareness training first, and then we're now doing the segmentation of the network. So it's a pretty tough choice between which of those two you do first, but we managed to get them both in early, so that'll give us opportunity to really the red team will be seeing the network by now if they've done a scan, and it'll look very flat. So we want to break this up into zones so we can defend our crown jewels. And these are our office machines. These are our remote users. Here's our SCADA and PCS control systems here. Plant control systems for those who are familiar, and then our programmable logic devices down here, and our human machine interfaces and our back-end server room. So we obviously want to do that as quickly as we can, and we should collect some logs in our firewall here for starters. So that's a good approach there, and we've got to go back to our main. So let's have a look at our action queue. One more turn before our network is segmented properly. And I found this in real life, segmenting the network and the architecture follow-ups after pen tests. Often there's a lot of work to properly segment the network and make sure that you've got good architecture in your IT, which is good. So that's what we're doing here. What else can we do? I think we should probably harden the Wi-Fi. Two-factor authentication, that'd be good, but let's implement strong Wi-Fi first. So we'll do that. There we go. So now we should have strong Wi-Fi implemented, and we have network firewalls. So what I usually like to do firstly is let's get some logs in our firewalls, because it's pretty pointless because we did put it in a seam before. So we've got our Splunk server there ready to collect the logs. So we can put logging on all our firewalls here. So that one of the win conditions here, if you can get your threat intelligence up to 100%, you can get a win. I've never been able to do that. The best I think I've got is about 71, but I have got the more threat intelligence you gather from the network, your threat intelligence score. And just while we're at it, we'll explain the win conditions here. If your P&L, your profit and loss statement, gets into the red for, I think it's 3 or 5 turns in a row, you lose. Red team hackers win. And if you depreciate your own, you damage your own infrastructure, you can lose as well. So be careful how you manage that. But if we survive 75 rounds here, we're up to round 10 now, we win. But if the red team gets us down into the red for 5 turns, we lose. So what else we got here? We'll probably do two-factor authentication because what we haven't done here, we haven't done a pen test yet, so we don't know where the default credentials are in our routers, switches and servers here. So if I were to look at a hierarchy of things to fix, I would go default credentials, followed by weak passwords, and we don't know what either of those are yet, but two-factor authentication will give us a little bit protection on weak passwords at least. So then system patches, followed by patches to the hardware, and then up from there to fixing vulnerabilities and the like. So that's my order of priority. So I want to know, but I can't get a pen test until I have done a couple of things. I need my processes and procedures, which I have done, but I need safe testing methods in here in my infrastructure before I do a pen test, otherwise I'll knock things over. Right, so that's the first important thing you need to do. So pen tests are great, but if you charge in and start scanning and fuzzing and doing all sorts of things in here, you could potentially knock over some infrastructure. So it's important that we get, firstly, our safe testing methods in place, followed by we need our ICS vendor certification to make sure that if we need to do any of those firmware upgrades, we actually have the vendor certification to do it. So, okay, so I think we're 12 rounds in here. Let's have a look at our budget. Our budget's looking okay, our P&L's good. What we should see if we do get penetrated up, and we will, there's a ransomware attack up here on our office machines or our remote users, we'll see the P&L start to drop if any data gets exfiltrated. So keep an eye on that. So we've got one more turn here. We'll put in the vendor certification. Check how long. That'll probably take two-factor authentication implemented now. We've got our ICS vendor certification, our safe testing methods, and then when we get our vendor certification, we'll get a little certificate up here. It only lasts for 10 rounds, so you've got to keep an eye out that you renew it regularly. Like any good vendor, we'll follow up through customer success management to make sure you're up to date, as always. Come back to that. So what do we need now? Let's go for, we'll go for, we've got some choices here. We can install our VPN, or we could security skills. What we might do is, we're in round 13, so we just might put electronic locks on the doors as well, because the red team can up their skills in physical social engineering to get past perimeters, and they can clone ID cards and things, so we just got to put some locks on the doors and make sure we've done a little bit of hygiene around that as well. We're nearly ready. I think next time. Oh, the other thing, you can't really do a penetration test until you've done your asset infantry. Now, if we think of NIST, we come back to NIST, identify NIST identifies the first phase. So we want to identify everything in our network first before we do our pen test, otherwise it may not be very effective. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. Wait for that. Logs turned on, and let's Splunk server, but if we don't have some NIDs, we might put in, install a network security sensor. So I think my principle here is to always put it closest to our crown jewels first. So it's down here. So this part of anything inside of this firewall we want to have protected by NIDs for now. And that's our go. Okay, so I'm just going to check in with Serena here. Serena, come in.
Well, it looks like QR5 is progressing well here. They will have to apply for budget soon.
As you can see, our budget's getting down to around 9,000. So what I usually do around round 15 is I put in place a budget request so that we can top up our budget. Now, sometimes if we're doing a pretty good job and the board is not alarmed about cybersecurity and we put up, oh, we're doing a really good job, but we need more budget, and they go, well, we haven't been attacked, so why do you need more budget? So sometimes it gets knocked back, so you have to build a good case. Now, part of the utilisation, our staff utilisation, if we go back through here, we haven't had any wasted turns, so our utilisation of resources has been quite high. So we'll have to wait and see. So we're 15 rounds in. 15 rounds in. Let's see how we go. So our electronic locks are being installed. So we've got locks and security cameras on the door. This is really important because if you have unlocked cable cabinets and things, and people can just walk in and install stuff. One of the red team features of this game is that they can create malicious USBs and go and drop them in the control room over here. We don't want that happening, so that's why we have the locks on the doors and the US bars. But it's always good to, on these machines here, just in case they do get past, to deploy USB security on these two particular machines, because they have direct proxy control over our, so if someone has snuck into the back room and dropping USBs around, we don't want these machines to become infected, okay? So that's what we're doing there. Alright, so here we go. This is going well so far. Last time I played this game, I got done by a very lucky spearfish. One single one. Because I did my awareness training a little bit later than what I did. So how are we going today? I think it's time for a pen test. We need to do it while our certificate is still active here. So we've got our, just checking, we've got our, you can see here we've got our safe testing methods, we've got our vendor certification, so it's time for our pen test. Now the reason why we're doing a pen test first and not a vulnerability assessment, as I said, was because the pen test will show us weak passwords and default credentials, whereas a vulnerability assessment will only show us things that need to be patched, which is fine, we need to know that, but the pen test will do that as well. So that's why I'm doing a pen test. Look, that's why we need our budget, because we don't have enough money for a pen test. How's our budget request going? Here we go. We might have to do something else for it. So why don't we add some logging on our NIDs while we're waiting for our... Let's add some logging on our NIDs. Let's add some logging on our... Let's put endpoint protection on our server as well. Just so we're waiting for our budget here. We need our budget approval. Come on. Oh, there we go. So we got our budget. So our budget has been approved. Here we go. Where's our budget? their budget? Approved. Endpoint protection. Oh yeah, budget succeeded. So turn 16, we got our budget. So we've got our budget back, so we can now afford to do our pen test. Now, pen test is an investment in as I said, the NIST identify phase is a bit more because we're now identifying all the other things we need to identify, which is where all the I call this the identifying the unknowns in your network. I did my capstone project on this, and that was the first step: identify the unknowns. So what we want to do here is find out what the unknowns are. So what we might do is just drop in here some logs on wireless as well to use up the other turn. Alright, so I'll just get some comments from Serena here about the budget when it's not approved.
In Australia, the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, SACI, defines 4 hazards that must be addressed. Cyber information security hazards. Also, physical security hazards, personnel, and natural hazards.
Obviously the strategy now, once we get our pen test done, we want logs on these switches, and we want to really harden up this area of the network first. We're not so concerned at this stage about having attacks over here, although credentials can be exfiltrated, these people could be using the infrastructure, that's all very well, but our first critical business risk here is our internal infrastructure. We really have to harden that up as soon as we can. So we'll worry about it. Oh, and there you go. There you go. Where was it? Where was it? Social engineering attack, phishing campaign. One phishing campaign was successful, and it got straight through. That's interesting. So how did we go? We actually got some good points here. So that's interesting. So, machine learning's been working hard because the last couple of I've done pretty well on this game recently. We'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, let's go through what the red team did. So they had cyber attacks, no manipulation, no denial of service attacks because they weren't able to get in and deploy malware within the network, so they couldn't deny us from the inside. There was no one arrested in the physical room, so they've obviously loaded up on phishing attacks and spear phishing campaigns. So they didn't. There was one campaign, but that was not successful. It was just a general phishing attack. And let's have a look here. Let's just turn off this bit. So here we've got 15 out of 55 assets were scanned and observed and looked at. So we weren't able to disrupt any of the pivots yet. If we got the pen test in and had progressed that, we might have done a little bit better. But the score at 938 here is actually pretty good considering we've lost. So let's just go through on the blue team side what happened here. So we didn't detect any issues because I got straight through on a spearfish, on a fishing, general fishing campaign. We didn't detect any issues because we're still getting them set up. We discovered one vulnerability where we had one budget request approved. We spent $58,000. our staff utilisation was quite high. So because we were kind of pointing in the right direction, we actually got good points here in 38 against 24-32. So that's interesting. So let's have a look at the actual results of the game. So this is the board. So here was, so and this is where it got a little bit lucky. It looks like the attacker got a phishing attack on an engineering workstation. So when we look at all the workstations a phishing attack could have landed on, they might have been a little bit lucky that they got that one, but that's real life. When we look at IT networks, you can have all the best defense in the world. It takes one fish with a authenticated credential in the right place, half set credentials, bang, you've got lateral movement. So that's a really good example of the danger of the phishing attack. Even though we had good firewalls here, we were just about to uncover all the vulnerabilities that we could start patching. A lucky phishing attack on that one device, one successful attack. If it had been over here, we might have had a better chance to defend it, but because that's an engineering workstation in the plant control system, bang, we're done straight away. So that's a really good lesson right there. So anyway, what we can thanks for joining us today. That was a really good game. Over a bit quicker than I expected. I usually do better than 20 rounds. That just highlights the danger of a phishing attack on internal infrastructure. If it lands in the worst possible place, it can have the worst possible outcome. So what we're going to do, we'll go back to the game. Look at the scorecard once more. The beauty of this with Threatgen Red Vs Blue is that you can score these, you can have red playing blue, it can be you against the machine, these can be collected up into esports sort of leaderboards and the like, and you can play tournaments in this, and that's a really good thing. So I shall sign off back to the live camera. Thank you for joining us today on the QR5 channel, where we did play and lost as a blue team as Threatgen Red Vs Blue, and we might be back very soon for another game. So we might see if we can do a bit better as a blue team next time. Thanks.